What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going the Distance podcast presented by ImmaculateSports.com. Twitter's at ImacSports.
Instagram is also at ImacSports.
TikTok, YouTube, Immaculate Sports. It's episode 246. And, we love doing things that are way too early and unnecessary, but we're going to talk about all-star teams today. We're going to make predictions. And the biggest struggle before we get into everything was every team needs a rep, right? And that means some guys are going to get left out. We remember this last year with Brent Rooker. We really wanted him to get in. Well, shoot, if a White Sox has to get in, then he's out of luck. Also, we'll talk a little bit about playoff basketball. And I have some college baseball too, just because regionals are starting up.
Yeah, doing our way too early All-Star team projections, like Skyler mentioned. I believe All-Star voting probably opens next week, beginning in June, and figured we get ahead of everything with putting our projected rosters right now. And we'll see how that ends up being in a month and a half from now when the All-Star game actually takes place. But we'll get right into it. I'll let you go first with your opener because you maybe accidentally hit at it there at the beginning.
I'm just excited. That's why I just couldn't contain myself, because despite college baseball on the West Coast being a little underwhelming this season, we still have a few title contenders left to root for. I don't know how you feel about it, but usually after we start the playoffs and any team that I don't support fully is gone, I'll be like, okay, any West Coast team's okay. So, the schools like Santa Barbara and Stanford and Fullerton continue to struggle. So the numbers are down. But what we do have is Oregon State hosting USC, St. Mary's, and TCU. Pretty good teams. Oregon will be hosting Cal Poly, Arizona, who wanted their own regional, and Utah Valley. And finally, UCLA will get UC Irvine, the Sun Devils, and Fresno State, who the last time they were a 4, I believe they won the whole thing. So either way, I'm excited. I'll be rooting for all the California teams specifically. And, of course, Oregon State being a top 10 school in the nation.
Yeah, Skyler briefly mentioned my two teams are out of it. His team is out of it. So I'm just looking for star performances. Always kind of fun to see when college baseball gets to become a bit more mainstream, and we get that with the regionals, super regionals, and then obviously with the College Baseball World Series in Omaha in about a couple of weeks from now. But the person I want to talk about is a guy that we've talked about a ton this year, and with nothing too crazy happening, I think it's just a good moment to take a step back and look at the season that Jacob Wilson has had so far for the A's and finally say that the A's have found their star shortstop. For the first time ever since Marcus Semien left after the 2020 season, it feels like Jacob Wilson is going to be the guy that's manning the quarterback of the defense for the next several years at the A's shortstop position. Right now, he's 4th in the AL in WAR, only behind Bobby Witt Jr., Cal Raleigh, and, of course, Aaron Judge. He's hitting .350, which I believe is second of qualified hitters behind Judge and Freddie Freeman. 88 OPS, playing solid defense as well, too. 6 homers is more than what we expected. I think he's maybe expected 6 homers in the entirety of the season. To do that through the first, 50, 60 games of the year is pretty remarkable. And only at the age of 23 right now, we expect him to grow and get better as time goes on. But even if he doesn't get better and just remains this, I think we're very, very pleased with the product that we've gotten from Jacob Wilson. And it's good to give him his flowers while we still can.
Yeah, you always want to pencil in that young rising star immediately to be there for the next 10 years, but we all know that's not really how it works. Even the guys who are still on the team, they struggle, specifically our team. So it's nice to see Jacob Wilson is just still dominating baseball.
Yeah. Moving in, though, to our player, pitcher, rookie in the week, as we do every week. We'll get it started with the player of the week. Skyler, who do you choose here?
Yeah, talk about dominance, man. I'm going to go with Tariq Skubal by far. Not only does he throw a Maddox against a division rival with 13 Ks and no walks, Skubal does one of the most ridiculous things of the entire StatCast era. He goes over 102 miles per hour to end the game on a strikeout. I can't imagine anyone has come close to this other than Justin Verlander. And I think I saw something. Verlander actually did do this in 2008, but that's the first year of StatCast right there. So it's just those two Tigers right now.
Yeah, Tariq Skubal is going to be my player of the week as well, too. Like Skyler mentioned, the Maddox complete game shutout, 94 pitches, only 2 hits allowed, 13 strikeouts, 0 walks. We'll talk about Tariq Schoolball, I'm sure, once we get to our all-star team projections even more. But this performance specifically felt like the most dominant performance that we've seen in a long time from a pitcher. And I know we've seen no-hitters and stuff recently, even perfect games in the past couple of years with Domingo Armand. But, just the dominant that Tariq Schoolball had over this past weekend on Sunday morning was pretty ridiculous to see. Just overpowering hitters, 94 pitches to get through the game with 13 Ks, over 70 strikes. He wasn't throwing balls. He wasn't messing around with you. He was just going right at guys saying, my stuff is better and you're not going to do anything about it. And they didn't do anything about it the whole day. I couldn't think of another performance that is up to this in the past couple of years. So this is, for me, definitively the best performance that we've seen from a pitcher, single game performance that we've seen from a pitcher in a long time.
Yep.
Now moving over to the pitcher of the week, which we know exactly who it is. It's going to be Tariq Schoolball, which I guess we'll just go to the rookie of the week then. Who do you choose here?
Yeah, I will shout out Adrian Hauser. A couple of good starts in a row for Chicago. Imagine if they had him opening day. Maybe they'd actually have a shot at something here. But yeah, going over to rookie, we'll give it to our friend Nick Kurtz. He led rookies in homers, ribbies, and walks right as he's finding that power surge. He unfortunately heads to the IL, pulled something around in the bases in extra innings against the Phillies. But I'm still going to give it to him. He deserves it.
Yeah, I went with Mr. Kurtz, Nick as well too, for my rookie of the week. Obviously sucks he's going on the injured list now. Maybe potentially it's a short stint because he did retroactive it a couple of days. So, he could come off the list in about a week or so. But in his short time playing over this past couple of weeks, he went 5 for 13, 3 homers, 7 RBIs, 5 walks, and an OPS over 1,600. We're seeing Mr. Kurtz do exactly what we wanted him to do. I know it didn't exactly look like this in the first, handful of games that he was on the big league squad, but before getting hurt, this guy was hitting as good as anybody in the big leagues right now. Which takes us to our way too early all-star teams. We're going to do the starters. We'll go full AL roster and then full NL roster, but we'll obviously start with the starters. And we'll start with the backstop, I guess. Who's your starting catcher for the AL?
Yeah, one of the first ones I wrote down doing this experiment was Cal Raleigh for Seattle. Unbelievable, a lot of homers, great defense. Doesn't get much better than Cal Raleigh at the catcher spot.
This one's pretty easy. Cal Raleigh is going to be my choice as well, too. I mentioned he's one of the 3 guys in the AL ahead of Jacob Wilson in WAR. Currently, as far as qualified catchers go, he's double the WAR of anybody else. Austin Wells is in second with 1.3. Cal Raleigh's obviously first with 3. 17 homers, 15% walk rate, 172 WRC plus, and some pretty solid defense as well, too. So Cal Raleigh gets my starter honors as well, too. What about the first base position?
At first base, the starter, I went with Paul Goldschmidt. I figured I kind of want to be predictive, too. He plays in one of the biggest markets in the world, New York, and he's still hitting 350. So that's probably enough to get the nod here.
Some interesting choices here because I don't really think there's a single standout. I think Goldschmidt, Guerrero, Aranda, even Soderstrom, Spencer Torkelson, all really good choices. And I decided to go with Spencer Torkelson because he leads all first basemen in the AL in home runs. I still think even though it's a super big opportunity stat, RBI matters for this specifically because if it's a fan vote, he leads with 40 RBIs right now. It's still, maybe not a big name, but first overall pick in the past. Former top prospect, and the Tigers are playing really good baseball right now with the best record in the American League. So I'll go Spencer Torkelson as my AL starter. And what a interesting redemption story, I guess you could call it, for Torque and the Tigers right now. Second base, maybe the least stacked position out of all of these.
Yeah, so because of that, I ended up just going with Alex Bregman as a utility. I know he just got hurt, but I would imagine he would still get a good amount of votes playing in Boston and putting up some pretty crazy numbers.
This was an interesting one. I originally had Gleyber Torres down, and then it got to a point where I needed a representative from the Tampa Bay Rays. And conveniently enough, Brandon Lowe's having a pretty decent season as well, too. Good offense and good defense. 10 homers leads the way for for second basemen in the AL as well too. So Brandon Lau, starter at second base for me. How about third base?
Jose Ramirez, pretty easy. Might be number 2 or number 3 in all total votes for AL.
My third baseman is going to be Bregman. He just went down with injury, like you said, but before he went down, 11 homers, 35 RBIs, averaged just under 300 at 299, WRC plus at 160, leads the AL third baseman in WAR as well too. So Alex Bregman, starting third baseman if he's healthy. On to shortstop.
Yeah, my starting lineup is starting to look more like the third inning of an all-star game, but I am going to stick with Bobby Witt for the shortstop spot. There's another guy, of course, making the team who we talked about earlier, but I imagine Bobby Witt would beat him in votes.
Yeah, I also have Bobby Witt for my starting shortstop. Will he get my vote? Probably not, because I'm going to be voting for somebody else, but he definitely deserves it if he gets on there. 19 stolen bases, leads the way for shortstops in the American League. 2.8 WAR does as well too. Obviously, really good defensively, 5-tool player. Maybe the power a bit lower than what we've expected this year, only 5 homers, but still a great player regardless. Bobby Witt is the starting shortstop for me. In the outfield, we definitely know who one is with Aaron Judge, but the other 2 spots are a bit more up to consideration and delegation on based on what you want to choose on. So who do you choose for those last 2 spots?
Yeah, I think Stephen Kwan should definitely be starting the All-Star game. He's been pretty unfazed throughout his entire career when it comes to contact and clutch hits. And then with the last outfield spot, I decided to give Taylor Ward the start. Just an unbelievable amount of power over these past couple of weeks could give him the nod on the vote.
Yeah, the 2 guys I went with besides Aaron Judge, first is going to be Byron Buxton. In only 41 games, he's second in all of the American League outfielders in WAR at 1.9. 10 homers, 8 stolen bases, good defense as well too. We're finally seeing from him. So Byron Buxton gets a nod from me. And I decided to go with Cody Bellinger as my other outfielder. Maybe a bit of the New York boat bias that we could see from him. So I don't think we'd see like a Zach McKinstry or even, I don't know, like a Jaron Duran over Cody Bellinger, whoever it may be. But Cody Bellinger is going to be my second choice. Still having a good season, though, regardless. Walk rate over 10%, 8 homers, good defense in center field as well, too. And then, a strong last month and a half after a pretty slow start for Belly in the Bronx. Now moving to the DH position. Who is your starter as a designated hitter in the AL?
I'm sure my guy would love DHing in this game because he always loves DHing. It's Rafi Devers. After a horrible start, he's finally almost back up there to the 1.0 OPS, just completely mashing again, even if the rest of the team has fallen apart.
Yeah, it's been a weird year for Rafi Devers. Has stayed in the news pretty much in the worst way you possibly can, looking like a shitty teammate, whatever it is. But through it all, he absolutely rakes. He has 48 RBIs right now, which, again, opportunity stat, but when it's an anomaly stat like that, I think it's worth mentioning. 160 WRC plus, 12 homers, hit a walk-off home run a couple of days ago. Now he doesn't have to play defense. So Rafi Devers gets my DH nod. Maybe the DH is helping him this year, perhaps. Do you have a designated starting pitcher that you wanted to choose? I had one. I know it's usually something that's up more to the manager, but I felt like there's an easy choice for me in the AL.
Yeah, anything could happen. I haven't tried to calculate who's going to be available, but I would definitely give Scooble the ball for this one.
Yeah, Scooble was my choice as well, too, which takes us to the AL reserves that we'll get into, and then we'll get into the rest of the pitchers after that. So I believe we have 6 different reserves here that we got to choose. We decided to go, I think, with 30 players on the team, 15 pitchers, 15 hitters, and delegate, how you wanted to with the positions. But who are your 6 reserves, Skyler?
We'll start off with Logan O'Hoppe. I feel like, especially for an all-star game, you don't want one dude to be behind the plate the entire game. That's just completely unnecessary. And Logan O'Hoppe has been right behind Cal, number 2 in all the offensive numbers, too. Just slightly better than our guy, Shea. You want to go one by one or all the way through?
I'll let you go all the way through because there'll be some repeat names in here for sure.
All right, so we got our one of our Toronto representatives, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first base. Of course, he's going to get a lot of votes and has the numbers too. Jonathan Aranda from Tampa Bay. That's one of my nominations for them. I would have loved to go Jackson Holiday. It didn't work out that way. I feel like they would like Jonathan Aranda's utility. At shortstop, of course, our guy Jacob Wilson, unbelievable in 350. The dude just doesn't strike out, doesn't swing and miss. Last outfield spot for me was the guy you mentioned, Byron Buxton. Like you said, man, if Byron Buxton's healthy, he needs to be at this event. And I'm glad we're on the same page there. And we'll end it off with another DH, Ryan O'Hearn, Baltimore. I mentioned Jackson Holiday. You can't look at Ryan O'Hearn's numbers and then back at his name and then back at his numbers and not stick him in here for this anomaly of a season he's having.
Yeah, my 6 reserves, I'll start off with Jacob Wilson. I definitely think he has the strongest campaign out of anyone that I did not name as a starter. The next best guy I would say would be Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians, obviously perennial all-star, one of the best players in the league. Just misses out because of the crazy season Alex Bregman's having so far. Next up, the third baseman for the Houston Astros, Isaac Paredes gets the nod for me. Right next to him is a guy who's right left to him in the field, and that's Jeremy Pena. He's having a pretty good season as his Astros shortstop. And then my last 2 guys, I needed a Baltimore representative, so I went with Ryan O'Hearn. He's obviously had a ridiculous year. Would probably get in regardless of representative or not, just with how good he's hit and on a very shitty season for the Baltimore Orioles. And the last guy I have, I didn't have Ohapi in there. I didn't have Taylor Ward in there, so I needed an Angels representative, and this guy deserves to be in there, and that's Zach Neto, shortstop for the Angels. He's been ridiculous. Was hurt to start the year, so missed about 10, 15 games to start. And since then, he's posted about 900 OPS, almost 10 homers, almost 10 stolen bases. Good defense as well, too, and turning into one of the best shortstops in all of baseball.
I basically just ran out of shortstop spots on both of my teams. So there's a couple shortstops, probably will be there when it's all said and done.
And I only had one catcher. They'll probably add 2 or 3 in there to make sure that Cal isn't behind there all game or whatever. But that's not my problem. That's a logistics problem in the grand scheme of things. But moving into pitchers, I kind of let us just do whatever we wanted here as far as divvy it up between starters and relievers. I ended up having, I believe, 8 starters and then 7 relievers. I guess I'll let you go ahead and pick your starters and outside of Scooball, and then we'll get to the relievers after that.
So for the American League, I ended up with 11 starting pitchers. I tried not to, but a couple guys had some numbers out of the pen that I didn't like, so I had to go elsewhere. And, we always see like Shane Bieber come in the 8th and whatnot in the All-Star game whenever it's a situation like that. So I have Max Fried, Garrett Crochet, Hunter Brown, and Chris Bubich rounding out the top 5. Those are some of the best ERAs in the game. A couple groups of teammates here. The Texas teammates, Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi, couldn't leave them out. Same with the Minnesota teammates. I couldn't pick one from Lopez and Joe Ryan, so I threw them both in there. Carlos Rodon has some of the best numbers in the league, and Shane Smith is the White Sox representative.
Yeah, I have 7 starters that were not named 3 Scooball, so 8 total. First of which definitely could have started this game was Garrett Crochet, dominant in his first season as a Red Sox. Next guy, talked about him so much this year, Chris Bubich, probably the most popular name on the show in the first 8 weeks of the season or however long it's been. The next one is Nathan Eovaldi. He's been dominant for the Rangers, one of my favorite pitchers to watch over the past handful of years, really going back to that crazy World Series game in 2018 with the Red Sox where he pitched in like the 19th inning. But Eovaldi's been great for such a long time and still very underrated. Next up is Max Fried, really great in his first year as a Yankee. After that, Brian Wu, another fun guy to watch, and really sabermetrics, darling, I guess when you want to call it that because of how good he's been this year. White Sox representative, but definitely deserves to be regardless of needing a rep or not. Shane Smith has been really good. Rule 5 pick this year and has dominated in a rotation spot for the White Sox. And the last starter I have is Pablo Lopez. I decided he would be the guy that makes out of the Minnesota rotation, and maybe another guy or even a couple other guys deserve to be in that consideration as well too. But Pablo Lopez gets the last spot for me. On to the relievers.
Yeah, only 4 spots left for me, so I couldn't really get cute with this. I went Andres Munoz, of course, the best closer in baseball right now. Josh Hader, maybe the best lefty in baseball over the past couple of years. Johan Duran still got that sub-2 ERA. And we'll finish it off with Peter Fairbanks, a guy who I think finally deserves some more flowers here. I think he's number 2 in saves in baseball, at least in the American League. And Tampa Bay ends up with 2. I would add Brian Wu and Mason Miller if I had more spots.
I have 7 relievers here. Maybe, that's just me being a reliever nerd. First of which, Andres Munoz, that's a lock. He deserves it, of course, still having a 0.00000 ERA. After that is Josh Hader, perennial all-star reliever spot. Carlos Estevez, the Royal, first year there, he's been really good for them. And then 4 non-closers, which, probably won't happen in real life, but fun to choose. First of which, Luke Weaver has been dominant for the Yankees for the second year in a row. Devin Williams has not been good, and Luke Weaver's really come in out of nowhere, or not out of nowhere, or I guess out of nowhere when you consider where he was about 6 years ago, and become one of the best relievers in baseball. And I think an all-star nod is definitely worthy. Then after that, the back-to-back guys that they have in Cleveland with Cade Smith and Hunter Gaddis. No Emmanuel Clase this year as far as being dominant, but Gaddis and Cade Smith have been exactly where they've been the past few years as far as back-end bullpen dominance. And then I needed a nod from the Toronto Blue Jays. So I went Jeff Hoffman, right? No, I went Brendan Little.
There you go.
From the Blue Jays, who has a 13.3 K9 right now, a 1.5 ERA in 24 innings pitched. He's been really good. Has some of the best swing and miss stuff in baseball. If you watch him pitch and then see him, throw 96 from the delivery that he has, it just doesn't really quite compute. Looks like a glitch. He's been really good for the Blue Jays. Will he be an all-star? Most likely not. But in this scenario, I needed a Blue Jay, and he's been better than Jeff Hoffman has been this year. So Brendan Little gets a nod for me. Now moving to of course, the starters in the AL are ridiculous. Moving over, though, to the NL side in the starters, position player starters first. Starting off with the catcher. Skyler, who did you choose here?
Yeah, it's hard to go away from Will Smith again this year. So much opportunity in that lineup, and he's still coming through at the top of all the leaderboards for catchers by far.
Yeah, Will Smith is going to be my guy here. Has had a great year in that Dodgers lineup. One of many dudes who's been going ham for them, and so Will Smith does get the nod for me. Next up, first baseman.
At first base, similar story here. I got Freddie Freeman. Came back after slipping in the shower, I guess, and is doing his thing. Another guy still hitting 350, like the Goldschmidt of the NL, if you will. He's going to get the votes.
Yeah, I also went with Freddie Freeman. What he's doing this year offensively is pretty ridiculous, while somehow still being hurt from that ankle injury last year. Just the past, months of baseball going back to the playoffs, he's been the best first baseman in the NL, and doing it while being considered one of the older players in the league makes us feel kind of old as well too. How about second base?
Second base, I stuck with Ketel Marte over here. Maybe not the unstoppable contact season that we're used to, but definitely hitting with a lot of power. Not a lot else at the second base position other than Ketel doing that.
Yeah, I think Brendan Donovan's a good possibility here as well too. But even with the missed games, I still think Ketel Marte is the right way to go. I believe he's had 2 IL stints now at this point of the year, and he's still been, really good when playing. So Ketel Marte gets my second base nod. Third base.
At third base, we're going with Manny Machado. He's still hitting over 300, walking a lot, and 7 stolen bases now, Kyle. He's getting towards that number you wanted him to hit.
Yeah, I think he's close to being on pace to 20. But my guy I decided to go with is not Manny Machado. I went with Matt Chapman here. 1.7 WAR is second in NL third baseman. By far the best defense, only behind maybe nobody, maybe Brian Hayes, maybe Nolan Arenado. But as far as the back goes, he's better than those two guys. And maybe not the most glorious year offensively, but when you play the defense he does, it's worth an all-star spot for sure. Now to the shortstop position.
I'm going with Geraldo Perdomo. We've talked about him a couple times here on the podcast. Number 11 in walks in baseball, and everyone was asking for his head, because they had some prospects coming. So good for him. Definitely deserves that extension. He's going to be here for a while.
Yeah, will he win the vote? Most likely not.
Yeah, exactly.
But Geraldo Perdomo most definitely would be my choice for the shortstop in the National League. Head and shoulders above everybody else right now, statistically speaking, and there's no real way to argue that he isn't. I saw the MLB.com posted like they're all MLB teams or whatever so far, and I believe they had Witt and Lindor. And when they put Lindor second, I'm just like, really? Like, I get Lindor's have a great year. No, nothing against him. I absolutely love Francisco Lindor, but he should not be there above Perdomo. But moving to the outfield, perhaps the strongest position in baseball would be the National League outfielders.
Yeah, I guess I'll order it in where I think they would be voted the highest. We'll start off with Fernando Tatis Jr. The numbers maybe not at the MVP level we had predicted a month or so ago, but still going to get the votes. Electric player. Out all three. Pete Crow Armstrong, the Cubs, right? I mean, how is this guy not going to win a fan vote? He's been one of the most exciting players in baseball, all 5 tools. And then, of course, his teammate Kyle Tucker, maybe the best out of this group this season. Pure hitter, leading the Cubbies to first place.
My first guy is going to be PCA. He'll be starting in center field for the National League. Just a cool story this year with how ridiculous he's been offensively and defensively, running the bases as well too. Just has the makings to be one of those next mega superstars in baseball with his, it's clowny saying it, but his aura, like it's very much a true thing. Next up, I have Corbin Carroll, 15 homers, 9 stolen bases. Maybe the average isn't in the glorious spot, but he's been really good for the Arizona Diamondbacks and their ferocious offense. And the last guy I had, Fernando Tatis Jr., still hitting a ton of homers, stealing bags as well too, 2.5 WAR. Third among NL outfielders. Obviously deserves to be another starter if you could with Kyle Tucker, but I decided to leave him off the starters, but you'll hint at it, probably be a reserve. And then the DH, obviously it's going to be what's that guy's name? Josh Bell? Right?
I think it's his friend, Kyle Schwarber.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah. Shohei Ohtani is the guy here. He just actually hit a homer a couple of minutes ago as well too. So now gets the 21st guy in the MLB to 20 this year. Without pitching, he still somehow continues to be the most ridiculous player in the league.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like we said last week, right? His down year now has him leading baseball in homers just a month later.
Yeah. Now to the NL reserves, 6 spots. Who did you choose for these 6 spots?
The representative from Colorado will be Hunter Goodman at the backstop. Not even just because he's Colorado. His numbers are better than Real Muto's this season. Keibert Ruiz, the brother in Milwaukee. Why am I blanking on him?
William Contreras.
Contreras, thank you. So I went with Hunter Goodman there. At second base, of course, is Brendan Donovan. He's having an amazing season for St. Louis, and they're on fire. We're going to have Francisco Lindor, of course. I have him missing the fan vote. He probably won't in reality, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Frankie Lindor still having a fine year. Corbin Carroll in the outfield for Arizona. Fantastic year. I don't think he'll get the vote because there's some very popular guys. And Kyle Stowers, Miami representative, another guy with ridiculous numbers, kind of the Ryan O'Hearn of the National League. Honorable mention, I couldn't find a spot for Kyle Schwarber. I really wanted to have him on here, but I there was just no room. So maybe when Tatis or Machado have that phantom injury, they'll get a spot. Same with James Wood.
Yeah. My NL reserves are start off with Mr. Smile, Francisco Lindor. Still having a really good season for the Mets, one of the best players in all of baseball. Deserves to be an all-star, just not a starter in my opinion. Next up is Brandon Donovan. Like we said, probably could be the starter in the NL for second base. Patel gets it over him. I think, just making the team in general, he'd be quite happy with. James Wood, Washington representative. He's been really good so far for the Nats and deserves to be making a spot. And then a trio of Kyles. I'm so proud right here. We have Kyle Tucker, Kyle Schwarber, and Kyle Stowers. Gets his nod from Miami. Schwarber's hitting it for a ton of power, and Kyle Tucker, 15 stolen bases already this year too, is pretty crazy. So, I'm happy for those guys. Putting on for the name, so to speak. Moving to the NL pitchers, who did you have for your starter of the game, and then who were your other starters?
I gave Yoshinobu Yamamoto the nod here over Paul Skeens. He just had better numbers. Not necessarily talking about who's got the best stuff. I just think that the Dodger would start the game. Of course, Paul Skeens will be on this team. He's been great. Zach Wheeler, I think, is still 6-1 or 8-1. Unbelievable season. Logan Webb, we just got to watch him destroy our A's the other day. He's just as good as ever. Hunter Green in Cincinnati, that will be the nod from Cincinnati. He's having a great season. Chris Sale in Atlanta, the other Atlanta guys in the lineup, not having the year that they want, so he gets a nod. I decided to include Robbie Ray. Again, you'll notice I have way more starters again, but I tried to do a little more predictive here with the relievers. Robbie Ray, Jesus Luzardo, two lefties having surprising hot starts right now. You could say the same about Mackenzie Gore, who ends up having to be my Washington guy there because the lineup was full, and Freddie Peralta of Milwaukee. Same situation with them. The lineup sucks this year.
Yeah. My starter is also going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I believe out of all the guys in the NL, he just had the most dominant season. The rest of the guys, I believe I have 8 other starters, so 9 total starters. Jesus Luzardo definitely could be a guy to start the game as well too. Logan Webb, Zach Wheeler, Paul Skeens, Kodai Senga having a good year after only making 1 start last year. And then 3 teams that each need a representative that haven't had a guy yet that, all deserve to make the team as well too. Hunter Green, Freddie Peralta, and Chris Sale.
Yep.
Which takes me to the relievers. I have 6 relievers. How many relievers do you have here? You said 4?
I have 5.
5. Gotcha.
5. All right, so we'll start off with the closers. Robert Suarez is going to be pitching in this game. Amazing start. Had a couple of blow-ups, but he's back to it, sub-3 ERA. Edwin Diaz back with the Mets. He's fully recovered from that injury and doing fine now, despite all the memes on Twitter. Ryan Helsley, St. Louis. It all starts with the back end of the bullpen when you're on a really hot streak. That's what's going on with St. Louis. My non-closers, I'm going to include Abner Uribe from Milwaukee, just in case Freddie Peralta wasn't on there. I wanted to make sure he was in there, hold leader. And then with the Mets, Reed Garrett. I just didn't have enough space to do this over in the AL, but some of those 7th and 8th inning guys get into the All-Star game because guys opt out.
I have 3 closers and 3 non-closers out of my 6 spots. First of which of the closers is going to be Robert Suarez. This one feels just as big as a layup as Andres Munoz did for a reliever in the AL. Kyle Finnegan is going to be my next guy. Signed a late deal with the Nationals this offseason. Has 15 saves right now, which I believe is second in the National League, only behind Robert Suarez. He's been a big reason why the Nationals aren't completely out of it quite yet. Edwin Diaz having a good bounce-back year for the Mets. He gets in. And then my 3 non-closer spots, first of which is going to be Randy Rodriguez. As of right now, a .79 ERA for the Giants in 22.2 innings. I have him in fantasy. It's a great pickup for holds. Next guy, Jason Adam, has really been pretty under the radar in Tampa Bay and San Diego over the past few years. So he gets the nod. And then my Colorado nod is going to be none other than Jake Bird. Has had a pretty crazy season for the Rockies, pitching out of their bullpen, a 1.72 ERA, no saves in 31 and 1/3 innings. Maybe that's just because they've only won 9 games, so you don't have a ton of closing opportunities, save opportunities there. But he's been pretty damn good for them. Will definitely be a guy that is not on the team come August. I'll tell you that.
Yep.
But those are our all-star teams right now, 60 players total, 30 from each league. And that takes us to the second half, I guess, talking about the NBA Conference Finals.
Yeah, Conference Finals, we got 4 teams left, 2 series, and it's been pretty fun so far. I started to get a little bit of, I guess, NBA fatigue, maybe because the Warriors are out. But then we get last night, Game 4, Western Conference Finals. OKC wins 128-126. SGA drops 40 points on his cousin, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Just a fantastic game. That series is now 3-1, and I don't see OKC slowing down anytime soon. They're now coming back to OKC for 2 more. I just think Minnesota blew it losing those games at home.
Yeah, an interesting series. They're really the first game that we saw close was the one last night. Anomaly of a game I think we saw on Saturday where the Timberwolves blew them out as well too. I do think this series is heading for the exit at this point with the OKC Thunder either winning in Game 5 or Game 6. After what we saw from Ant last night, maybe he's just not quite there yet.
Over on the Eastern Conference, things are a little bit different, though. 2-1 Indiana lead, and all of these games have been fantastic. So we're still on pace for 7. The Knicks have to play another game on the road in Indiana to even things up, but very even. We got overtime in the first game with a Halliburton shot to tie it up. We had Indiana, of course, wins Game 2, and then last night, Jalen Brunson is unbelievable. Karl Anthony Towns does just enough to get the job done. I think I'll save my prediction for later, but I still think we got 7 games on our minds right now for the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, the series has been fun to watch. Game 4, I believe, is tipping off here in about 25 minutes or so. Halliburton's dad is back, which maybe could do something. Maybe he's gonna be taunting guys, whatever it may be, but. What a fun series so far. As somebody who's been a big fan of Tyrese Halliburton for a while now, seeing that Game 1, on the main stage, he's obviously had some big shots this playoffs in general, this year in general. I think going back to the NBA Cup, but did not think that the Pacers would be in the spot. Did not think that they would be down or up 2-1 after being up 20 as well too in Game 3. Thought maybe it could be 3-0 right now. But what a, change in dialogue from, midway through the third quarter in Game 3 to right now. If the Pacers win that game, we're saying, oh, shit, close games, but this series is over. But right now we're right back in it. Or not we, but you get what I'm saying. We're right back in the thick of it as a viewer. And, yeah, we got some fun games ahead of us with this one. Definitely, has to be a series that if you don't have it on by the fourth quarter, turn on the game, at least pull up a screen for it because it's worth watching.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on, though, into our layups and bold predictions. A whole lot of red I'm seeing right now.
A whole lot of extra innings for us.
Yeah, rough one for me and Skyler. We went 0-4 this past week. I had the Padres over Toronto on Thursday. That did not happen. Skyler had the New York Mets over the Dodgers on Friday. That was perhaps the craziest game of the week. I was watching that at like 10 p.m. on the West Coast on Friday night, which meant that they were still playing baseball in New York at 1 a.m., which is nuts, partially due to a long rain delay. But regardless, the Mets do not win that one. This week, I have the White Sox in Colorado going over 7.5 on Wednesday. I believe that's – let me pull up the starters. I don't know why I didn't have them pulled up right now, but that is going to be Gordon versus Matt Boyd. Matt Boyd's been good, but I trust the Chicago offense to at least pour their weight in this one, get 6 or 7. because they always tend to score against whoever it is. And against Colorado's pitching, as long as it's not Jake Burke, I like their odds.
Yeah, that's a good point. I am going to go to basketball for my layup. I hinted at some of this stuff earlier. I'm going to do a dual series pick here. So I'm going to have OKC getting the job done in 5 games on Wednesday. They're going to win that one at home against Minnesota. And on the Eastern Conference, I think they do go to a game 7. Like I was saying, that'll be on Monday. And I'm going to have the Knicks winning in 7. Crazy comeback to the series after losing 2 in a row. I don't think anyone can stop Jalen Brunson. And even though Indiana is kind of like OKC in a way where their rotation is so deep, they got a wing player they can throw out there at them for any situation. I just still think they need a number 2 scorer. And so far it's been okay, but at some point they're going to make Pascal Siakam or somebody else beat them that they're not used to doing.
Bold predictions last week. Hinted at this earlier, but we did go 0-2 here as well too. I had the White Sox over Seattle on Wednesday. That did not happen. Skyler had Miami over Los Angeles Angels on Friday. That did not happen. This week, I'm going with Miami, but a team a bit more south than the Angels. It's the Padres. This is Sandy Alcantara start versus Kyle Hart tomorrow. Going for the Padres. I like Sandy, even though he's got an 8 ERA right now. I think we're beginning to see his stuff really go back to what it was a couple of years ago. Kyle Hart has not been good for the Padres. Miami's lineup is a very sleeper, scrappy team. I think you look at Ramirez, you look at Kyle Stowers, you look at Connor Norby, some other guys as well too, and you like their lineup in some situations. And I think this is a specific situation where I like them to beat the Padres with some solid plus odds here tomorrow.
Going back to baseball for my bold prediction too, we got an NL East rivalry, Atlanta at Philly, and I got Atlanta taking down Philly on Thursday. That's Chris Sale at Christopher Sanchez. Chris Sale is just starting to turn it on right now. We both had him in the All-Star game. That's not just because Atlanta sucks this year. Atlanta's finally starting to get rolling. Acuna's back, and I think maybe it's weird to say this, but hey, it is baseball. The vibes are definitely trending upwards for the Braves. So we'll take them winning a day game, middle of the week, division rival. Anything could happen.
Yeah. And, maybe these odds are going to start to favor you here because right as we started the episode, within 5 seconds of us starting the episode, Bryce Harper got hit in the elbow and had to be taken out of the game. I didn't really have a great way to talk about it because I didn't have him as an all-star or anything like that, so we didn't mention him. But with him out, maybe the odds can even lean more towards your favor, Skylar. But anyways, that's going to do it for episode 246. Next week, 247, 24/7. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
We'll talk about power rankings again. We'll get back into that. Maybe some other stuff as well, too, that we can hit back on with the MLB. Maybe some college baseball we'll talk about with some of the regionals going down. We should have our finals matchup likely set by then, I would imagine.
Yes.
OTAs, maybe? I don't know.
Hassan Riddick didn't show up.
I saw that tweet that you sent me.
All the Jets fans are like, I told you.
The New York media, man.
Yep.
Wouldn't want to be an enemy of that. But
no.
Anyways, any other part notes or just some good old Hassan Riddick hate?
Let's just try to win 2 in a row here for the A's. That's the goal. Let's win two ball games in a row. Let's pitch well.
We finally, get out of playing Philly and their, ridiculous pitchers that we seem to always have to face after facing Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, and Jesus Luzardo. Who we face tonight? Hunter Brown. So we'll just go fuck ourselves then. But regardless, we're still going to be rooting for them. So we'll see you guys in episode 247. Go A's.
Yes, sir.